I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We had a pretty decent life, nice house, good jobs, friends, the usual stuff. I thought we were solid, you know. Nothing seemed off until a few months ago. Small signs, really. Lisa started coming home later than usual, brushing off questions, acting a little more bitchy about small things. She'd snap at me for no reason, and when I asked what was wrong, she'd just tell me I was overthinking, that she was stressed at work. But I knew her, and I could tell she was hiding something. Things got a little worse when her phone started buzzing constantly, especially late at night. I'd catch her checking her messages quickly, hiding her screen when I walked by. I didn't want to read her texts, but I knew she was lying. She'd say she was chatting with her coworker about some project, but I could tell she was hiding something. The worst part, she'd get really bitchy and defensive whenever I brought it up, accusing me of snooping and being paranoid. It was like walking on eggshells, and I hated feeling like I was losing control of the situation. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I found something that made my stomach drop. I was helping a buddy of ours, Jason, who had just lost his job, trying to network him into a new position. I was writing him a reference letter, trying to help him out. One night, I left my laptop open in the living room for a minute. When I came back, I saw a message pop up on the screen from someone named Bree. I didn't recognize it at first, but I immediately noticed some things that didn't add up. The tone was flirtatious, and there were mentions of meeting up, finishing what we started, and all kinds of intimate stuff. My heart sank when I saw the name Bree. I knew that was some girl Lisa had been talking to behind my back. I started digging through her phone later that night. It was like peeling back layers of a lie I'd been too blind to see. She was texting Bree. Well, not just texting. They'd been meeting up, having sex, apparently. All while I was out networking for Jason and trying to keep our marriage afloat. I couldn't believe it. This bitch had been lying to my face, telling me she was so stressed about work, and meanwhile she was out banging some girl I barely knew. The worst part, Bree was someone we knew, a mutual friend who was staying with us after losing his job, and I'd actually been trying to help him get back on his feet. I'd written him a reference letter, and that letter's still sitting on my desk, unsent. I can't lie, I was furious. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I'd been so focused on helping Jason, on trying to keep my marriage together, and all the while she was out screwing around with him behind my back. That betrayal hit harder than anything I'd ever experienced. I felt sick, betrayed, stupid. How could she lie so easily? How could she look me in the eye and pretend everything was fine? I spent that night lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just uncovered. I thought about all the times she snapped at me, the little lies, the way she'd brush me off when I asked if something was wrong. I felt like a fool, like I'd been played for a damn fool. The next morning, I woke up with the weight of everything crashing down on me. I couldn't focus on work, couldn't sleep, couldn't do anything except replay that message and the realization that Lisa had been lying to my face for months. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it blindly. I needed to have all the facts, to see if there was any way this was just some stupid fling or if it went deeper than that. Honestly, I was expecting her to deny everything, to lie her ass off the way she always did when we had disagreements. But I needed to hear her say it herself. I waited until she got home from work, which, by the way, she was unusually late for that day. That should have been a red flag right there. When she finally came in, she looked tired, irritated, the usual bitchy glare in her eyes. I decided I wasn't going to hold back. I was done being nice. I sat her down in the living room, looked her straight in the eyes, and said, "Lisa, I know about Bree. I saw the messages, and I know you've been sleeping with her. Don't even try to lie to me because I already know the truth." Her face twisted into a snarl. She crossed her arms and rolled her eyes, acting like I'd just accused her of stealing a candy bar from the store. "Oh, really? You're so damn paranoid, Mike. Just because you saw a few texts doesn't mean anything. Maybe you're reading too much into it, or maybe Bree is just messing around with everyone. You're overreacting as usual." That's when I lost it. I told her she was full of shit, that I'd been helping Jason, and that she was out fucking Bree while I was trying to do right by everyone. Her face got even more bitchy, like she was trying to dismiss me, dismiss everything I just said. She started lying, of course. Said Bree was just a friend, that I was making a big deal out of nothing, that I was jealous because she was so hot and funny. Then she started crying, but it wasn't because she was guilty, it was to make me feel guilty. She's really good at that, turning everything around, making me doubt myself. I told her I'd had enough, that I knew she was lying and I wanted the truth, no more bullshit. Her excuses, that she was stressed, that she needed someone to talk to, that Bree was just a friend, and that I was crazy for accusing her of anything. She kept saying she loved me, that it was just a mistake, that nothing serious had happened. But I could hear her voice cracking. She was lying through her teeth, and I could see her trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for her. But I wasn't falling for it. I'd seen enough. That moment marked the end of whatever trust we had left. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt a mix of anger, heartbreak, and deep disappointment. I'd always believed in us, in our marriage, and now I was faced with the reality that she'd betrayed me, not just once, but repeatedly. I didn't know if I wanted to scream, cry, or just walk out and never look back. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach so many times I couldn't breathe properly. How could she do this? To me? To Jason, who'd been like a brother to us. She'd lied, cheated, and now she was spinning stories trying to save her own ass. I sat there, stunned, trying to process all the pain and rage swirling inside me. That night I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything, her lies, her sneaky trips, the fact that she thought she could get away with it all. I kept wondering how long it had been going on, whether she'd been sneaking out at night, or if she'd been lying this whole time about her feelings for me. I felt like an idiot for trusting her, for believing she was just stressed, just overwhelmed. Turns out the stress was just a cover-up for her affair with Bree. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Or was she just a bitch who wanted something else and didn't care about what that did to me? The emotional toll was brutal. I'd never felt so betrayed, so stupid for not seeing it sooner. But I also knew I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I had to figure out my next move, and fast. The days that followed were a roller coaster I wouldn't wish on anyone. I kept replaying the confrontation over and over in my head, trying to make sense of how I missed all the signs. It's like I had blinders on, and now that I took them off, everything was clear but also filled with this deep, gnawing pain. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and honestly, I wasn't sure how I was functioning. Every time I looked at her, I saw the lies, the sneaking around, the betrayal, and it made me physically ill. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what that was yet. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not anymore. One thing I did do was start gathering evidence. Call it petty, call it revenge, but I needed proof. I couldn't just take her word for it anymore. I needed to see everything laid out in black and white. I installed a few hidden apps on her phone, checked her social media accounts, and even tapped into the home security cameras when I could. I wanted to be sure before I did anything drastic. I also reached out to Jason, our mutual friend, just to understand the full picture from his perspective. Turns out, he was as blindsided as I was, which made me feel a little better. At least I wasn't crazy for suspecting something was wrong. What I found out was even uglier than I thought. Not only had Lisa been cheating with Bree, but she'd been sneaking around with her for months, maybe longer. There were messages from Bree about meeting up after work, about finally being able to be herself, and explicit photos she thought I'd never see. I couldn't believe how callous she was, how she lied to my face, made me think she was just stressed or busy when her real priority was screwing around behind my back. The worst part. Bree was the girl staying with us after losing her job, the one I was trying to help. I had no idea she'd be the one to betray me like this. It was like a punch in the gut every time I uncovered a new message or detail, but I also realized something. I wasn't going to let her keep lying to me. I started planning my next move. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time with everything laid bare. I wanted her to face the consequences of her actions, to understand that I wasn't some pushover who'd turn the other cheek. I wasn't naive anymore. I was angry, yes, but I was also hurt, humiliated, and determined to do what was right for me, whether that meant fighting for the marriage or walking away for good. The thing that stuck with me most was the fact that she kept lying even when I had her dead to rights. It was like she was trying to gaslight me, make me doubt everything I knew. She, deny meeting Bree, deny any affair, then turn around and accuse me of mistrust. It was exhausting. I'd ask her directly and she'd give some bullshit excuse about needing space or being confused or that I was crazy for even suspecting her. Her tone was bitchy, condescending, like I was the problem. But I knew the truth now. I had the proof. I just needed the right moment to confront her again, to make her face what she'd been doing behind my back all this time. I started feeling a strange mix of emotions, anger at her betrayal, sadness that I'd been so blind, and a kind of determined clarity that I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. Whatever happened next, I was going to take control. I realized I deserved better than her lies, her games, her cheating. The world wasn't perfect, and sometimes people screwed each other over, but I wasn't going to be the one left holding the bag. I was done playing nice. I was ready to face whatever came, even if it meant losing everything. Because at the end of the day, I knew I couldn't keep living in this illusion, pretending everything was okay when it was. After I collected enough evidence, I knew it was time for a serious talk. I couldn't keep dodging the inevitable, and I certainly couldn't keep living in this false sense of trust. I decided to confront Lisa again, but this time I was going in prepared. I had all the proof laid out, screenshots of her messages, the pictures she sent Bree, the timestamps, everything. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some fool being played anymore. It was her turn to face the consequences. That evening I called her into the living room. She looked annoyed, like she knew exactly what was coming but didn't want to face it. I told her I had something to show her. I pulled out my phone, played her the pictures and messages I'd saved. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. She tried to deny everything at first, but I cut her off. "You've been lying, Lisa, for months. You've been sleeping with Bree, haven't you? While I was trying to help her find a job, you were busy banging her behind my back. How long has this been going on?" Her bitchy attitude shifted into outright defiance. "You don't know what you're talking about," she spat. "You're crazy. All this jealousy and paranoia, that's why you're pushing me away. Bree's just a friend, and you're just making this shit up because you're insecure." She tried to brush it off, but I wasn't having it. I told her I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to let her keep lying anymore. She started crying, but not the kind of honest tears that show remorse. No, she was crying because she was caught. She yelled, called me paranoid, accused me of spying on her, and claimed I was always suspicious of her because I didn't trust her. She said I was making her life miserable and that she deserved to be happy too. That was her favorite line. She kept saying she needed something more, that she was stuck with me, and Bree was just some girl she liked to talk to. But I saw through her, saw the bitch behind the tears. Honestly, I felt a mixture of rage and deep sadness. Rage because she had completely betrayed me, and sadness because I realized I'd lost what I thought was a real connection. We built a life together, and she had thrown it away with Bree. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her lies. I was angry at myself for trusting her, angry at her for being so selfish, and angry at Bree for betraying both of us. But mostly, I was furious that I'd been stupid enough to think she loved me. I told her she needed to leave, that I couldn't live in a house where I was constantly lied to, where I was being played for a fool. She argued, begged, even tried to guilt-trip me, saying I was overreacting, that she still loved me, that it was just a mistake. But I wasn't buying it. I knew her too well now. Her tears and her excuses didn't change the fact that she had cheated, lied, and broken every promise we'd ever made. I was done. I told her she had until the end of the night to pack her shit and get out. The moment she left, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Part of me was glad I finally knew the truth. Part of me was devastated that I'd lost her, that everything we built was shattered. I sat alone in the silence of the house, staring at the empty space where she used to sleep, thinking about everything I'd been through. I kept replaying her lies, her manipulations, and the betrayal of Bree, our supposed friend. I kept asking myself if I'd ever really known her at all. That Night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there thinking about the future and what that meant for me now. It hurts to lose someone you trusted so completely, but I also knew I deserved better than the kind of betrayal she'd given me. I'd learned that sometimes the people you love can turn out to be the biggest liars, and the pain of that is almost worse than the betrayal itself. But I also realized I was stronger than I thought. I still had my dignity, and I was determined to rebuild my life without her. It was going to be a long road, but I was done being the fool. From here on out, I was going to do what I had to do to make myself whole again. The days after she moved out felt like a blur. I was stuck between relief and a gnawing emptiness I couldn't shake. Honestly, I oscillated between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of clarity. You'd think that cutting someone out of your life would feel like a weight lifted, but it's not that simple. Every corner of the house, every little thing I looked at, they all reminded me of what I'd lost. The trust, the future I imagined, the person I thought I knew. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so trusting, when she had been actively screwing someone else behind my back. I spent the first few days just trying to breathe, trying to process what had happened. I couldn't even bring myself to touch her side of the bed. I kept replaying our last conversation, her crying, her begging, her bullshit excuses. It was like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. But I knew I couldn't stay stuck in that place forever. I had to think about what was next, what I wanted my life to look like from here. One of the hardest parts was dealing with the aftermath of her betrayal, especially knowing that Bree was involved. I couldn't believe I'd been so naive, helping her get back on her feet, trying to be a good friend. Instead, she turned out to be just as selfish and manipulative as Lisa. I felt like I'd been used, played for a fool. But what hurt more was the realization that my marriage was over, at least for now. I'd loved her. I still loved her, but I couldn't ignore what she'd done. Trust was gone, and with it, whatever hope I had for us to fix this. I started reaching out to a few friends for support. Not that I wanted to tell everyone every detail, but just to get some perspective. Most of them told me I was better off without her, that she was a manipulative bitch who didn't deserve my loyalty. It helped a little, but nothing could undo the feelings of betrayal I carried inside. I also began to think about what I wanted to do with my life now. I thought about the work I'd put into our relationship, how I'd always tried to be a good husband, and how she had repaid that effort with lies and betrayal. It made me realize I'd been giving her so much of myself, and she had just thrown it away. In those quiet moments, I also reflected on what I'd learned. Trust is fragile, I guess. You think you know someone, and then one day, everything changes. I learned that people can hide their true nature very well until they don't have to anymore. And I learned that revenge isn't always about getting even. Sometimes it's about protecting yourself and walking away with your dignity intact. I wasn't going to let her define me by her actions. I was going to rebuild, even if it meant starting from scratch. I decided I wasn't going to chase her or try to fix what's broken. She made her choice, and I had to accept that. I was going to focus on myself, on healing, and on making sure I never let someone manipulate me that way again. I also started to think about my future, about moving on, about finding someone who actually respects me. The pain still lingered, but I knew I had to keep going one day at a time. That's what life was now, learning to live with the scars and making damn sure I'd never be blindsided like this again. Looking back now, I realized that this whole ordeal changed me in ways I never expected. I thought I knew what love was, trust, loyalty, honesty, and I believed I had that with Lisa. But betrayal has a way of stripping away those illusions quickly. It forced me to confront the raw reality that sometimes people are just fundamentally selfish and manipulative. I learned that the hardest part isn't always the betrayal itself. It's accepting that what you believed in was a lie. That realization hurts like hell, but it also awakens a kind of strength I didn't know I had. I've spent these last few months rebuilding myself. I've thrown myself into work, rekindled old friendships, and started doing things I genuinely enjoy for the first time in years. I've come to see that the pain was necessary to cut loose the dead weight of the lies, the betrayal, the false hope I'd been holding onto. I don't regret the love I gave her, but I do regret trusting her so blindly. Now, I'm more cautious, more guarded, but also more aware of what I deserve. I've realized that I don't need someone who manipulates and lies to me. I'm better off alone than with someone who doesn't value honesty. There's a strange sense of peace that comes with finally letting go of someone who doesn't truly care about you. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm just tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of the games, the lies, the betrayal. What I want now is straightforward honesty, respect, and someone who values me for who I am, not for what they can get out of me. I've learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, even if it hurts like hell at first. Because in the end, you're only hurting yourself by staying. And I know I deserve better than that. So this is where I stand. I'm still healing, still trying to put the pieces back together, but I know I'll be okay. I've learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's lies, and that I can survive the worst betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. That's what I want others to take from this. Never settle for someone who manipulates or cheats, no matter how much you love them. Because in the end, loving yourself enough to walk away is the greatest act of strength you can do. And I've learned that, painfully but truly.